All right. Let's talk about the one that's really passionate for you. The Mattie Farr Foundation. Tell us the story behind that, Mr. Farr.
I lost my daughter 2.5 years ago. She fought her whole life. She had a very rare disease, white Sutton syndrome, and it was so rare we didn't even have a diagnosis till she was 6, and there wasn't a name until she was 8, and she passed away before she was 10. So through that, I had a hole in my heart that I felt like we could do more to help others that were in the same situation. And it's not just hard on the kids; it's hard on the families. A lot of families are all in. They didn't have the means maybe that we had to help support that little girl, and we wanted to be able to do things to help contribute to children with special needs in their family.
So what does it look like? How does somebody get involved with? Because first things first, what's the web address for Mattie Farr Foundation? So because I want to donate. Like you guys are on my show.
Foundation.org. Yeah. So it MattieFarrFoundation.org. It took over a year to get the 501(c), which was kind of an uphill battle dealing with the government and whatnot, and it was just something I wasn't really used to. We've done 2 golf tournaments now. We're starting scholarships. One thing I did with my daughter was swimming every Friday. She could never swim after 8 years of swim school, but she loved it. And it was more of a safety thing. So we're starting a swim scholarship program too for special needs kids that we're hopefully going to be launching soon.
That is. So first off, super sorry. Like, man, I couldn't imagine going through that. But I noticed this about you guys. Like you turn these things they're awful situations into something that is really pretty amazing.
You learn from everything. It's you can deal with it head on. It's kind of one thing that we both specialize in. We say call it running to the fire. You can deal with everything head on, or you can let it sit on the sidelines and it builds up. Never gets better.
I think I just found the title of the podcast. Running into the fire. I think that's a great title for this podcast. And it applies so much to our world, right? Like, especially as entrepreneurs, you're doing it in this, how you give back and how you keep taking these things that are challenges and obstacles in our lives and flipping them upside down and turning them into opportunities. But even in our business, we got to run the fire every day. A homeowner that's upset, a person working for us that may not have done what we needed them to do that day. The opportunity presents itself and we get a storm or something like that. We're constantly feel a little bit like firefighter, right? I think that's a great way of really kind of putting what we do together. I got a couple more questions. First off, and I'm going to say this, and they didn't ask me to do this, but I'm going to do that. Anybody listening to this podcast, I want you to go to MattieFarrFoundation.org. And I don't care what you donate, just donate something. This is the opportunity that we have. We get one shot at this life. Let's do the right thing whenever we have the opportunity. And I think special needs kids, that is a great way to give back. I think that's something that was actually like in the Bible, the least, the last, and the lonely. Serve the poor, serve the underserved, serve the ones that are having the biggest difficulties in life. And you guys are doing a great job of that. Surf instructor, like that, like what in the world? Is that like a job? Like that's a job?
Oh, it was actually, yeah. So remember, I'm over here on the East Coast of Florida and Cocoa Beach, essentially, and basically, and so I actually had a friend who had a surf school. A lot of the hotels will have surf schools behind them. And what I noticed is, like, they said, "Hey, would you help us out with some surf lessons? We got a lot of kids today." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so that's how I kind of started. I was working for someone else, and what I found is that they were calling me directly for me to teach their kids how to surf. And the craziest thing, and I was 23 years old at the time, and there was a single mom, and she had 3 kids, and she said, "I want to go to Costa Rica, and I want to take my kids to Costa Rica, and you speak a little bit of Spanish, and you're great with them in the water. I'll pay your way. Would you come with me?" I said, "Absolutely." Yeah, absolutely. So we go there, and then the first day we found the perfect beach because a lot of Florida is like just long sand. But here there was like you had to find certain spots and bays and coves and stuff to surf. Found a surface spot, perfect spot, and then we actually got stuck in the road there. So the next day we wanted to go back to that spot, and we stopped, and then the place that we stopped at happened to be a surf camp. He was looking for a surf instructor, asking, "What are you doing with this mom and her 3 kids in Costa Rica?" And so I actually got a chance to live down there for a while and came back and opened up my own surf school in Cocoa Beach. Bartended that night. It was a really good life. But it was extremely seasonal. Even though it is Florida, it's warm all the time. You had the summers and you had spring break time, but outside of that, kids had tennis and soccer and things like that they were would take up their weekends and stuff. So I really enjoyed it, and I met my wife. I was 29 at the time, and so that's when I got into roofing, and that was 9 years ago.
Hold on a second. You met your wife at surf school?
I actually, she was in town. She was in town for a surf contest, and that's kind of how we had met. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah,
you caught the right wave.
I guess so. Yeah. So here we are. We just had our first daughter. She's 10 weeks old.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, funny story. The only place I've ever surfed in my life was in Costa Rica, in a place called Tamarindo. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Okay. So now we were staying at this really swanky resort, and everybody had gone to do surf school the day before, and everybody went out and they weren't doing it the next day, but I was golfing the day, and golf's going to be priority for me. So I'm trying to figure out how to go surfing. And there's a couple other guys that missed out, and like, there's a wall between the resort and the beach. And once you go outside that wall, it's like Katie bar the door. It's a public area. There's everything and everyone that you can imagine out there. People selling beads and blankets and massages. And there's a dude talking about surfing. I went, "Hey, I want to go surfing." He goes, "Well, meet me at 7 a.m. We got you." I went, "All right, sounds great." Did no more checking than that. So 7 a.m. I walk out. Sure enough, he pulls up and like this just beat up, just terrible Mitsubishi Montero with some surfboards on top of it. Opens his door, smoke comes boiling out of it. I'm like, "Whoa, this might not be a good trip." The other two look at me and they're like, "Man, this is going to be great." And he took us out. We had an amazing day. It was a lot of fun. But that's my surf story. And I'm not very good at it. Like, that's just, for whatever reason, surfing is not my jam. But I have a lot of respect for it. One last thing, like Florida, right? We have lots of customers in Florida. I love Florida. I've been there many times. I'm kind of a West Coast guy, like a Clearwater Beach and that kind of area. Like, I like that area. But Florida has a reputation. Are you familiar with this reputation that Florida has? Florida
You
man?
mean like the Florida man on the news?
Yeah, like Florida man. So what I would like to end our podcast with today, this is the only thing prepped. And when I say prepped, as I looked at Winter Park, Florida, where you're located, 2 things came to mind. I got to talk about Florida man. And have you seen the movie Stolen Identity? Okay, you got to go watch Stolen Identity. The gal that steals the identity is from Winter Park, Florida. Everything starts coming up Winter Park, Florida. So, Florida man, what's your best Florida man story? You got to have one, right? Like, you're in contracting, there's got to be something crazy that's happened.
Something that we dealt with in house, like
customer? Well, maybe not one of your employees, but maybe a customer, maybe something like I got all.
Jim, we're all pretty normal here, dude.
So everybody that's listening, if you've never heard of this before, go to Twitter or any other like Google search and put in your birthday and then follow it with Florida man. So the date Florida man. You'll be shocked at what comes up on the stories with Florida man. So I thought you guys might have a story. No stories?
Farr?
I mean, there's been a lot of them. Any one in particular one that's standing out? Not really. I mean, there's always the naked guys running around on the streets. Or
there was one in the back of my screen there about 20 seconds ago. If you
oh man, we missed it.
We're just desensitized, Jim. That's all it is, man. We're desensitized.
It's just part of everyday business. All right. Last thing, promise. I I'm a contractor. I'm trying to figure it out. I've been at it. Maybe I'm just starting, or maybe I've been at it a while and I haven't been able to like break those barriers, like going from the 6-figure to 7 or 7 figures to 8. What were some of the biggest challenges, and what would you give as advice to overcome those that you wish you would have done sooner in your business?
Letting some things go or delegating to others. I was one who would have somebody do something and I would do it behind them a lot. So you think nobody can do it as good as you, but you realize even if it's 90% of what you thought it was going to be, it's better than you're able to get to more things. You're able to get onto something else. So you got to trust people to do their job. You got to put faith in your employees and make sure you got good ones. It's really getting good people has been our story. We've just gotten good people. We've attracted them. We seem to just continue to get good people.
What do you attribute to attracting those good people?
Well, our turnover is almost zero. So when we have them, they don't leave. That's one thing.
Well, why don't they leave? Because everybody else has such a problem with keeping people. There's no loyalty in our industry.
Kind of something to add here, and it's kind of a shout out to Brian Farr. So being in the contractor side, generally we feel that like distributors are here to serve us and manufacturing's here to serve us. But a little thing like Brian Farr will go and get a $350 food truck and have it delivered to our distributor's office. Hey guys, lunch is on us. So when the distributor hears about an estimator or a really good sales guy who's unhappy with his position, that's where it comes. And same thing in manufacturing. When they get an opportunity, they're like, hey, we really want your systems plus more, whatever it is, they're attracted to us. So and again, I don't know if you can see it on the shirt, but it says B Farr Contracting, Building Relationships. And I think Brian Farr's lived that through and through. And it's a lot of it's when no one's looking, and it's little things like that. No one knows that he gets a food truck every 3 months to the distributor. But I see it.
That's one thing too is we become true friends with them. You mentioned earlier about being friends with your markers. It's everybody that we work with and every vendor relationship. We're loyal until someone gives us a reason not to be, or we got to check them. We're not price shopping 5 people and picking the lowest bid. We're riding with somebody for long term, and through that long term, you grow and build good relationships.